G'day Bomber fans, that was another stressful Saturday, the second week in a row we've kept it, actually the third week in a row. We kept our season alive. We don't make things easy. We have prolonged the funeral, the end of season funeral. Before I get into the round 22 review though, leave your votes in down below. 3-2-1 Brownlow style, Bomber players only. You guys know the drill by now. So first quarter, we were clearly on a different time zone. They came with real pressure, we did not. Their pressure forced us to take a little longer to get into the game. We were wiping the sleep from our eyes while they were living inside their forward 50. Luckily, they weren't really punishing us. By the time we woke up, we were only 2 goals down. We trailed by 5 at quarter time and we trailed by 5 at half time. We weren't really playing the game on our terms. There was a clear and easy to read difference in the way each team wanted the game to be played. We were more than happy for stoppages to be avoided. They were killing us with their clearances. They wanted the ball around packs. When it was in the open, it favoured us. When it wasn't, it clearly favoured them, and that's why they had the upper hand, because for the most part, it was a pretty contested game early on. After the break though, we found momentum. We gained the upper hand. We not only started to match them at the contest a little bit more, but we started to get a lot more of the ball in dangerous areas on the outside. We had some clever positional changes that made it easier for us to defend. I was really confident in a victory after watching the third quarter. You could tell that we had the game all but won. Even if the scoreboard didn't show it that way, we only had a 2-goal lead at the last break from memory, and my confidence wasn't blind. We got the job done. I thought after that third it would be a lot more comfortable and straightforward than it was, but we got the job done anyway. They hit at us with some follow-up goals to make it exciting, but really, you saw a team that knows how to win going up one that doesn't. Even our young players, Sartas, Perkins, they made the moment their own, while North, well, this is their 10th loss in a row against us and their 19th loss in a row this season. That's a team that just doesn't have a winning culture, unfortunately for them. Not saying we do. We haven't won a final in around 2 decades, but even when the game was tight, I wasn't really sweating. I was confident we would win. It wasn't pretty. It was another ugly win, but a win regardless. So how did we win this game of footy? Well, for starters, once we managed to get on top, mainly in that second half, we completely controlled the territory. We had 35 inside 50s to their 19 in the second half, 50 marks to their 28. We may have only won by 7, but really did deserve to win by more. I think the main issue was wasted chances. We missed some really gettable opportunities late in the game, like we did against West Coast the week before. We really did have control of proceedings, and it came from our control of territory. Repeat entries, locking the ball in our forward half, not letting them transition as easily. They beat us 9-4 for inside 50 tackles in the first half. We reversed that in the second half. We lifted our pressure and in turn lifted our scoring ability. I think the fact we defended so well and they entered so poorly in the first half really helped. They were playing the game the way they wanted it to be played in the first 2 quarters, but they fluffed some chances. We worked hard defensively. We didn't really let them get a good scoring flow on. They could only ever manage 2 goals in a row, no more than that. A great part of that is due to the fact that they are a very poor side, but I also thought BZT, Laverty, and even Baldwin and Redmond all pitched in to help make that first half deficit a manageable one. It was barely even a deficit, which is fairly undeserving in my eyes. We destroyed them when they turned the ball over. They did a lot of it, which helped. They're a young team lacking skill. We are always going to gather interceptions against them, but the fact we scored, I think, 70 points from turnovers, that shows how well we transitioned and how hard it was for them to defend us. It was really disappointing for us not to feature much from stoppage goals, but this is definitely a little positive as well, the fact we scored so easily from their turnovers. They shut down Merritt really well. I saw this coming. He had a heavy tag, but that almost played into our hands a bit. We shifted positionally to force them to make changes around the ground, and it ended up leading to us always having a spare behind the ball. It would usually be Ridley in this role, but we saw it change a lot because of his injury. Our defensive communication seemed to be great for the most part. The only issue was defending stoppages, which is tough to be fair, but I thought the fact we usually had an outnumbered down back in our favour really helped us manage their entries. We just knew how to win the game. I touched on it earlier, but I want to highlight it more. We are clearly well drilled in winning close games of footy. You see how the same players find space in tight matches and the same players pop up for big moments. Heppel in that last 10 minutes, he was awesome. Perkins kicking the game winner. Our defenders shutting it down. The fact we knew when to go slow and how to do it. North just looked like they were playing off spirit. We had a system behind our style. It was pleasing even if against a poor team. Some negatives, because there were plenty. We were shocking from stoppages. I've said it all year. I do not like seeing the umpire throw the ball up. It never really favours us at all. The differential wasn't even that large, but they scored way too many goals from forward half stoppages. It's just so hard to defend, especially when Cunnington and LDU are on the run. We don't do enough defensively in the midfield midfield to help our backline. It's something we need fixed. It is hard without Caldwell and Shield and Setterfield. We had Nick Bryan, Archie Perkins, Elijah Sartas and Ben Hobbs running through the midfield. The most experienced player there is in his third year. Obviously they were helped, but it shows how young and inexperienced we are there at the moment. We let another key forward off the leash. Larky had a lot of space to lead at times. He kicked a bag of 5. He should have had more, and this was with bad service for the most part as well. I don't even think there was much BZT could even do at times. Larky was just a forward in form and doing what he wanted. It was disappointing because for a lot of the season we have held the opposition power forwards well, but then there's always the possibility of a Tom Hawkins kicking. I think he kicked 50 goals on us in one quarter. Our forward half pressure was non-existent in that first half, even at times in the second. I was furious at Guelphy until he showed us why we love him so much. Those last quarter smother efforts and rundowns, that's why he's in the team. And I'm not just picking on him. I think he's a great player to highlight though. All of our smalls were so lax early and really got up and about when the game was truly on the line. It makes you wonder why they only show up when it's at that stage. It could have been a simpler game if our forward half pressure was evident early. I want to say this North team is not horrible. The difference between this round and last is light and day for me, because I don't even think we played that badly this week. I thought we had a pretty poor first half, but North were really competitive to stay in the fight, and of course they were going to be. They don't like us. Cunnington's last game, Clarko back as coach, nothing to lose. They were never going to get belted, but I don't think they were ever really going to win this one either. I was always pretty confident. I want to touch on the elephant in the room, Ben Mackay. A lot of fans would have been watching him closely given we have strong links. I don't really know why some have negative reactions towards him. I think he's a fine player. I've always thought so. Better than our current key defensive options, and he showed that. He had a really strong game. That first quarter was awesome, so I think a few of the fans that were not happy with the links may have changed their mind, especially because this wasn't even close to his best game of the year. We aren't definitely getting him. It's not a sure thing, but I would be happy to see him in black and red if he plays like that for us. It's not a pleasing result, but gee, it's good to see our kids stand up. Aside from Heppel and Parrish and co, it was really the young stars, the future of the club, standing tall late in the game. We obviously had a young engine room, like I said. Ben Hobbs was huge. Elijah Sartas had some really nice moments. He's probably due a Rising Star nomination now. Perkins was influential, kicked the game-winning goal. You saw our young defenders, Cox, BZT, Baldwin, even Menzies up forward. These players played really mature matches. It's great to have players like Stringer, Draper, Shield, Ridley, Setterfield, Caldwell all out, but still lift in the areas that needed to be lifted in through our youth. Look, in the end, we were just the better team. I think we actually deserved to win this week, unlike our West Coast match. I think we were poor not to win by more. I am not happy with the result. I'm not thrilled, but it's not all doom and gloom like last round. There are positives, there are negatives. We got another win under the belt that we may well have dropped last year or in a season before. This is one of our worst wins of the season, but the fact we are disappointed shows that we are clearly in a better space than last year. I hope we end on a high with another win over GWS or Collingwood, but for now, let's look at my best on ground votes for what could well be our last win of 2023. One vote to Mason Redman. I thought he had some massive moments in defense, 4 or 5 intercept marks, some really nice attacking moments as well. Most effective kicks on ground, I believe. 2 votes to Darcy Parish. That performance might have shut up a few haters. 33 disposals, 9 clearances, 2 goal assists, almost 700 metres gained, but 3 votes. Nick Martin had some sort of game. 32 disposals, 3 goals, led the ground for score involvements, among other things. He was truly awesome back on the wing, one of his best games of the year. Some unlucky to miss out on the votes. Kyle Langford would have been up there for, a 4th or 5th straight week. Laverty and Hind in defence. Hobbs, Durham, Perkins and Sartas were good as well. I think Langford and Hobbs were the two I was most tempted to chuck in though. That third player is tough, so not telling you guys who to vote for, but give them some votes to share the love around. But that is that. Video done. It's not a great win, but a better one than last round. We move on to 2 massive games, must-win matches if we want to play finals. GWS next week. Stay tuned for my preview on Wednesday. Subscribe if you want to be a part of the Bombers community, and go Bombers.